All right, it says we are live. Hello, Gun Nation. Tonight we have Harry's Holster on. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm living the dream. Always fun to have you on. And this was kind of a last minute thing. We were actually chatting. I had already posted the chat title, and then we were kind of talking about it. And I was like, I was like, man, you probably come on. So, but
Yeah,
we've got Ranger 10 in and Dirt Track. That's
we
all I
got
see so far.
fairly we got fairly intimate in our conversation, didn't we? About
Oh yeah. Well, and that's I think that's a very like I'm glad we talked about it because I think it's a very kind of viable thing to bring up. And I wasn't hammering on anybody when I was like, "Do you really EDC?" I wasn't. That's not meant towards any hate or anything. It's just want to kind of give people some ideas and then opinions because people always ask opinions. Whether and like I said, opinions are opinions. It's just everybody's going to have them. But so, what have you been up to lately?
man, just working like crazy as normal. It's getting ready to move into the new shop, and that trying to get everything squared away for that is, as you know, that's been a process with the town, engineering, everything else.
Yeah, and also not getting into like where it's located and everything, but you're going from how many square feet to new square footage.
About 1,000 to 2,500. So
So
it's
you're doing
still small, but I've invested heavily in automating everything possible.
yeah,
So should be able to do about 7x the numbers out of that space,
that's
even though
awesome.
it's 2.5 times larger.
That's awesome. Yeah, we got Trigger Bar in the house, Pistol Pete. What are you drinking? Pellegrino.
Yep. Trying to
Yeah,
stay trying to stay.
I'm drinking. I'm drinking Bullet bourbon tonight.
Nice.
A little Bullet, just a nothing special.
I don't know why I've lost my taste for bourbon.
Oh my gosh.
When I do drink, it's tequila and or mezcal, but
Yeah.
I just haven't
Ooh.
been drinking much anymore at all.
Yeah. Yeah, mezcal. Ooh, depending on the grade of mezcal you get. Yeah. So that old, some of that stuff, man, you can take paint off of a freaking rusted bumper with it.
Yeah, that part doesn't bother me. It's man, I just don't. I just hit like a point where I just kind of stopped drinking completely. I think I've just been so focused on work. It's kind of hard to.
Yeah. No, I get it. I only have like a drink. I mean, now next week I'll probably be drinking more, but well, put it this way: I won't drink enough, or I won't drink too much to where I can't walk with a cane.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, any trade show that's going to
Yeah.
happen, any kind of
Yeah.
company event like that. I
Oh
went
yeah.
down with Mike when we went to PSA's The Gathering down in Greenville, so we had a fun little night out, and we were back in the room by 8:30. We started
Yeah.
at about 4 and finished in 4.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm like Ranger. Ranger saying bourbon will never leave his taste buds, but he's been sober for 11 years. But yeah, and I mean, like I said, I don't abuse alcohol or anything like that. I mean, when I'm at home, I have like, I think this equals like 2.5 shots, 3 shots maybe, and that's pretty much, what I do a week. But yeah, and Ranger says, and I know that people are doing this too, but he's making the transition from winter carry to spring and summer carry. Do you kind of rotate things like that?
So I used to rotate to a revolver in the summer. Before that, it was going to a Glock 43 from a Glock 19. Then it went from revolver, Glock 48 to revolver in the summer. But right now, I'm actually kind of doing it in reverse. I was carried a revolver almost last year and a half, close to 100% of the time. I switched back to my semi-auto because with Glock 48, product testing and some new stuff we're working on, I needed to carry a semi-auto, and I think I'm going to switch to the Sig Macro. I'm not really sure though. Like we're working on some new products, so I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go macro with a fuse slide, like the AXG frame with a fuse slide, or if I'm going to go with that Radian build I'm putting together, or if I'll just carry the AXG macro stock from SIG. But the problem I have with that is, so at 10 yards, if my group is, if I'm shooting a 1.5, 2-inch group, at 25 yards, it's like an 8-inch group. So it's progressively, whereas any other gun, it's pretty much, a standard deviation out from like an MOA perspective. That SIG, something about that AXG macro, I just can't get the same consistent accuracy further at distance. That's with a dot.
Well, and I've heard people talk about that as well with the SIG barrel, but then they said when they change it to the Radiant afterburner, and ramjet, that, it is much better. So I have heard people, I don't shoot that gun personally, but I've heard people, say the exact same thing you had. And then they went to the Radiant afterburner and all that stuff. And then they were like, oh yeah, because it is a match grade barrel. And I mean, I'm not an accuracy guru by any means, but when I shot my Gen 5 Glock factory barrel, I kind of rested it and shot it. And then I put the afterburner ramjet in it, and it was equal to or even better for me because it was even a little less recoil, or actually less recoil, or not as much recoil, I guess, if you're comparing an apple to an apple. But yeah, I mean, I think it shoots great.
Yeah. The biggest problem I have, it might just be my specific gun. I mean, I shot it next to the fuse, and this was slow fire, like dots on both guns. Everything should be identical. My group size with the fuse was a third.
Wow.
Of that AX, and that was at 10 yards.
Yeah, but didn't that thing have like that 3-point whatever little barrel in it because of the?
I think that's the issue.
I do. Yeah, I do too. I just don't think it has enough velocity in there to kind of control it as good. Yeah, Rich B is saying that Buffalo Trace flooded in Kentucky. I did hear that, but I haven't seen any pictures of it or anything. But I mean, man, that's just awful. What the hell's going on there? That's crazy. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Really won't get it now. You already can. I said you really won't be able to get it now. It's already hard to get.
Yeah, well, I've got, and I mean, I know this doesn't help much, but I've got 3 bottles of it stocked up. But my last bottle, or the one I'm already in, is like, it probably has maybe a shot left in it. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, and that's not just going to affect them. It's going to affect, hell, you're talking about Kentucky. I mean, or there's there's a lot of bourbon places there too. So, let's see here. Ranger says his AXG Legion is spot on at 40 yards and in.
Yeah, and I could probably still make hits on steel at 40 yards with it, but I'd probably be pushing the outer edge of what I'd feel comfortable with that extreme deviation of the grouping.
I mean, I wouldn't be happy with that. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm a bullseye shooter or an accuracy guru, but that's unacceptable in my book.
You can type in Harry's Holsters 100 yards P365, a video from, 7 years ago, maybe it'll come up. And I'm shooting at 100 yards with a P365 iron sights, 3.1-inch barrel. No problem. That AXG Legion, though, it might be, I probably need to switch out the barrel with one of my other macros and see if it's a problem with that barrel.
Could be it could just be a bad barrel.
Yeah.
Hello, G23. How are you doing? We're going to go ahead and get into the meat of it, though. We were talking about, do you really EDC? And, I was talking to Harry about this. And, I see, and even from personal experience, I see the sidecar rigs and all these things that people are showing on video and, they're reviewing them and all of this stuff. And I'm not saying those people don't carry them. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, for one, where I was kind of going with Harry is, do people carry a full-blown, plate across the front of their I guess, abdomen, every single day with, the sidecar and, the backup mag and all that stuff? Do people really carry that every day, do you think?
So there are definitely some people that do, but I think they're the exceptions. A lot of people that carry those type holsters, in my experience talking to some of them, they don't carry at work because they work in a prohibitive thing or they work from home. Sure. So they don't carry in the house with it. And then they carry it every time they do carry, which is I'm going to make a 2-hour errand run to the store, or they're not carrying all day long every day like we do. Yeah. And with that, little problems like we were talking about going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
When, I don't want to have to go into a stall if I don't have to.
Yep.
If I'm wearing one of those sidecar rigs, I got to go into a stall. I actually used to carry with a sidecar before I started my company for a little while. And I had to go into the bathroom and actually take that holster off.
Yeah.
I would reposition it on my pants, take both clips off, put it on another part of the pants. And that was a true one-piece sidecar back in the day.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I was going with that. I mean, I'm a big guy. I'm tall and, long-legged and all that other stuff. So, I mean, I can still have it attached and lift it up and, do my business. But it's like uncomfortable. It's just big and bulky. And, I'm a believer in, yes, you can still have a mag attachment and a holster, but I don't think they need to be together. The way that I carry mine is I carry my appendix right over my right, ball. Okay. And then I carry my mag attachment over on the left. So I don't keep them together. It just doesn't work for me. And, I'm not saying it doesn't work for other people, but man, it's just, I don't know. I mean,
some of those holsters can be pretty comfortable. You can drive well with them. It's just the little things like, how long does it take you to get that holster on or get it off? Yeah. And if you run into Discreet Carry Concepts clips, I've only found one design. Like I own most of these. I get them in for testing. I just want to compare where we are relative to the rest of the market. And I've only found one design that's reasonable to get on, and it's still significantly harder than even a 2-clip Discreet Carry Concepts holster that's just a single holster without the mag carrier. And then, you got to go to the bathroom. Every now and then you have to take a holster off for whatever reason. Yeah. Are you spending 10 to 15 seconds to do it? Are your pants like the button on my pants when I try to put these holsters on?
Yeah.
My belt buckle's up where it normally is. And next thing you know, my buckle, it's all over the place.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, they just don't, I've tried a lot of holsters too. Even before I knew you and Armsman and all of that, I was buying holsters and trying holsters and stuff. I mean, like everybody else, I've got a freaking tub full of holsters. Some I really like, some I'm like, and a lot of them I've given away because I either don't have that gun anymore or I just don't like that holster, so I gave it away. But, there has a lot to do, and also I can carry most big guns that other people can't, because I'm a bigger guy. And I actually prefer bigger guns. And it's not just because I have big hands, or it's some of the small guns, like I've talked about before, when I go to draw, it's like I'll miss the grips because they're either too small, too short, too tiny. It's just, it's a big hand problem. Some people will never have that problem.
People give me crap all the time for saying this, but the P365 is a very hard gun to draw fast. They go, I can draw it great. I can get a great grip on it. And I've got size XXL hands. If you put that stuff on a shot timer, you are not going to be as good as you are with an AXG. You could take an AXG macro or a macro grip, chop it down to 10 rounds, and you're going to be significantly faster because of the length from the back strap to the front strap. There's more for your hand to grab.
Yeah. Yeah. The little, piece, 365 version, when you had your OG one where I broke the firing pin in yours, or it broke while I was about to shoot it. There's no way in God's green earth I can grab that gun. I've tried. I've put it in a rig. It wasn't my rig. It was Brian's, but I put it in there. I tried it. I mean, just with ripping the shirt and grab. I mean, dude, I missed it like 7 out of 10 times. I'm just like, it's just too freaking small, for me. But I don't carry it every day and all that other stuff. But I have found one that I've dry fired, that I've tested, that's working pretty well for me. And it has to do with the length too, is that, Shadow System CR920XP.
Yeah.
It does have the longer grip, and it's it's actually working pretty well for me. Now, would an X macro work? I mean, when I tried Brian's, I didn't like it at that time. But now, since I tried the shadow systems more, maybe I could do an X macro, but I'm not a SIG guy, as you know. So I'm not messing with that. But, I just, another thing that I see, and you probably see it too, on some of these videos, like everybody's doing their EDC pocket dump 2025 and, all this other stuff. And they've got, the gun, 18 tourniquets, 2 pocket knives, 4 flashlight, all this shit that they supposedly carry on their person, not in their truck or in a bag or whatever. They have it on their person. And I'm like, is that for real thing? I'm like, I'm all for, being proactive and all of that other stuff. But man, there's got to be a point where it's realistic too.
I've met some of those guys who really do that, but I've met more guys that are, what's the word I'm looking for? They're
minimalistic. That are what? I'm sorry.
They're posing for the internet. They say they carry stuff and they don't. I've met 10 of those guys for every one that actually carries it, and most have the ability to carry it. But and so talking about carry guns though, and you're talking about the CR920 XP. One thing I really wish there's a lot of people that have a gun in their truck. They have a gun nearby, but they are not carrying on their person. Mm-hmm. And, a CR920 XP is better than on you is better than a Staccato XC in your truck. Everybody can shoot the XC better, but it's not any good if it's not. On you.
And see, what I do for business, you know exactly what I do because we're friends and we've talked in detail. But there are times.
Most of the time, your gun is not sitting in your console or your, it's not sitting in a safe in your truck most of the time. It is on you.
Yeah, it is. But there's times where I have to, dress up or I'm doing a training or something like that, and outside with people. And I'll be doing a training. Well, it might not be literally there, but it's, in
a secured area.
Correct. It's on my person, but in a sling bag or what I mean, a backpack, and it's easily accessible. So they're, but yeah, these guys, I carry this every day, blah blah blah. And you look at it when they show it on video. There's no barrel smile. The breech, there's no wear on that gun at all. And I'm like, okay, and I've got, and there's also other scenarios where I've got 5,000 rounds through this gun, and I've got the same gun, you've got the same gun, and ours, we can see where the wear should be, and theirs is immaculate. I'm like, I don't even think you have a mag through there. And then, there are the people that buy holsters, your holsters, other people's holsters, and they put it in a freaking sock drawer,
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. And I'm not hating on those people, but, I'm seeing, and some of them are new channels, some of them are older channels. But all these unrealistic pocket dumps and, I carry this big plate with, a grenade launcher on the left side and my gun on the right side. I'm just, I don't know. I'm just like, really, do you? I mean, like I said, I'm not calling anybody out and they can do what they want to do, but just for the new people coming to the 2A or, that are thinking about carrying guns. Cause I've had people reach out to me personally in email, and I know you probably have too. And they're just like, man, I just can't carry all that stuff. My body's just not built like that. I can just carry a gun and maybe a backup mag. And I'm like, what else do you need? I mean, a flashlight in your pocket or a pocket knife or whatever, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to be the Timmy Tactical guru guy carrying 9,000 pounds of crap.
Skill is a relative thing, and there's certain people that are going to be at different points on the spectrum. But I can do more with a revolver and a flashlight than most people can do with a 2011 and an X300. And I'm talking handheld flashlight. It's a well tool. T1 Pro or T1 Pro.
Yep.
This little light, it's not the strongest in the world, but it's sufficient to ID anything close up. I feel more confident with this than most people out there carrying a weapon-mounted light with a huge gun.
Yeah.
It's the person using the tool, it's the Indian, not the arrow.
Yeah. No, and I do totally agree with that. And here's one thing I've always said. I always carry a pocket flashlight. Okay, not anything monstrous or crazy, but it's probably got, 500 lumens at least, sometimes, 1,000 lumens. Because if I'm trying to, positively identify someone, I'm not pulling my weapon light out. That's stupid. However, I like having both. I like having a weapon light and a pocket light because, if I PID somebody and go, oh, boom, that's the bad guy, or there's multiple bad guys. Once I pull that gun, if it's in an environment where I need a light, I don't want to have to one arm and do all that other stuff. I want to be able to kick that sucker on, and I can control them very well with my thumb. I want to be able to kick it on, do what I need to do, keep it on for what I need to do. Yeah. Once I know the threat's gone, cut it off, and, it's there. And it really serves two purposes that a lot of people don't realize. And I'm not recoil, I'm not I don't worry about recoil because that doesn't affect me, but very much. But, it can be used for actually a couple things. You've got a little more weight on the barrel or muzzle flip when you're ripping them. I mean, when you're, you're dumping it, it helps, even if it's a small TLR7. But with the light on there, like you and I have talked about, yes, you've got the button that you can touch with your thumb. However, I've got those gorilla thumbs. So I can anchor that thumb at the top of the base of the light, right there above the switch, and it's a leverage point.
Yep.
Because I am not that, goofy thumb ledge guy that has this monstrous ledge hanging out on the side. Now, the little fold down ones are cool. They are. But if it's folded down, I've got my thumb on it. Also, I think it hinders your access to the button on the light. And I've seen people where they have to kind of move their thumb. I don't really want that. So I just use the base. But again, it might be a big thumb problem and other people can't do that. I get it. But for me, it works out well. So that's why I choose to do it. So I'm not the tactical Timmy. I'm not trying to be the SOCOM guy or any of that. They just work for me, whether it be a big light or a smaller light. I just prefer to have a light on my gun. What about you?
Man, I don't carry with a light that often. And the only reason I'm probably going to start is product testing.
Yeah.
I've taken multiple low light classes. I think I've taken 2 low light classes. Both of them, I ended up deciding that just a handheld with the right features as far as activation is better because you're always PIDing. You end up going for your gun. You got to do something with this light. So that's normally wrapping over using the O-ring. Yeah. And it's a lot easier to shoot with a weapon light. It's 100 times easier than one-handed shooting.
Yeah.
But it's more comfortable to carry a holster or a gun without a light in most holsters. There are exceptions to that.
And like I said, I've heard, smaller guys, are like, hey, I just can't carry the little bit wider, even though it's a light and it's this much wider, at the bottom. They're just
it adds around 3/4 of an inch to the holster with current holster technology. That might be a little hint for something coming soon to minimize it, but
yeah,
we've
got Armsman in the house. Sugar Bar saying thumbs up. Yeah, we got 23 people on. I don't know how many thumbs up, but y'all smashed that thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. Let's see here. There was one that there was a question here. Christian was saying, that he has the watch, the AirPods, chapstick, all that good stuff. I just think a lot of people take it to the extreme with the pocket dumps. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not picking on anybody, but when I look at these pocket dumps, I'm like, really? I mean, that a lot of that stuff, I have it, but it's in a bag. It's in my truck. I don't need that on my physical person. Now in my backpack, I've got 2 backpacks. in my backpack that I use for work, I do have a tourniquet in there. You know, and I have them in the truck too. So because, and we can all agree as 2A people or whatever, I've only had to use a tourniquet one time, and it was not for this. It was for a car wreck. So, you know, 99% of the time, that's probably what we're going to be using it for. So I think you should have it in your vehicle. I don't know about carrying it on your person all the time, or if I had to, I could go back to the truck and grab it. Because wherever I usually am, my truck would be.
I keep a little medical kit right in the pocket of my door, usually 3 or 4 tourniquets, chest seals, Israeli bandages, everything's backpack, easy to go. Because like you said, I've never, fortunately never had to do that, but if I do, it's probably going to be on the side of the road.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and like I said, anybody that differs and they have a different opinion, I'm not hating on anybody. Please don't take it that way. I'm just, you know, the only thing is when people show this whole table full of shit and new people to coming to our side of the fence, and they're looking at this and going, man, I can't be that guy, or I can't live up to that expectation. You know, I don't want them like pulling away and going, oh, you know, I'm not going to carry a gun. I don't want to mess with all that. You know, I don't want them to think that that's a must. You know, that's kind of, and some of these people go, oh, if you don't carry this, you're wrong.
No.
You know, and I'm like, whoa, you know, I mean, that's all kinds of crazy that you're saying.
Here's the way I look at it is, you know, you've got a bunch of potential tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
What is going to be the most effective to use?
Yeah.
So I think it's a good idea for every single person out there to know medical. Yep. Even if you never want to carry a gun, knowing at least the basics of medical. And from what I've learned, it's basically you can maybe do enough to stabilize somebody till EMS gets there, and then they can stabilize them further till they get them to emergency room. There's only so far you can go.
Yeah. Well,
running a flashlight.
Yep.
This is a tool that no matter what your views on self-defense are, you probably don't have a problem carrying one of these.
Yeah.
So if you got a loved one that doesn't want to do that, a friend, teach them how to use this. Teach him movement with a flashlight. Teach him how to use it effectively as a deterrent. And then start stacking skills on like firearms.
Yeah. And like just your point right there with the flashlight, you get a flashlight with a good, you know, head on it, you can do some severe damage with some of these decent flashlights.
This one doesn't even have that. And I'll tell you, if I lock my thumb in over there.
Yep. No, you wrap. That's what I'm saying. All you got to do is wrap that thumb around, and hell, you talking about brass knuckles? You got them right there on some of these flashlights. I've got a couple, and I mean, I put them in perfectly, and I mean, lock that thumb on there. I mean, even with the clip, or if it has an icebreaker on the back, that icebreaker can be a hell of a nice pick into the brain too. I mean, there's all kinds of damage, you know, that you could do to somebody if you had to with it. So, you know, and of course, pepper spray and all that other stuff. And that's one thing that I really don't carry on my person. I'm not the pepper spray guy, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with it. I know it's very effective. I've been hit with it before, and it's not fun. It was on accident. You know, I bought my daughter the clip, you know, that you pop the clip off, and she was spinning it around and was just spinning it around. She hit it, and boom, it popped me right in the face, and that wasn't fun. It was a palm too. It hurt like hell. So it's definitely effective.
I mean, you probably know a little bit about this, but I got a buddy who has his pilot's license and flies up in Alaska. They're not allowed to keep bear spray inside the plane because of the canisters.
Yeah.
That's what kind of concerned me. I know there's some pepper sprays that aren't pressurized. You just thought of that going off in my car scares the hell out of me.
Oh, pressurization is a real thing. You know, anything above 10,000 feet, you got to be real careful about it. And that's, you know, I have a buddy that flies, and he does carry a little pepper spray with him because he goes to like Seattle and some of these areas where you can't carry. And, and I told him, I said, before you buy that, you need to check the canister and make sure it's pressurization approved, because some of them aren't. And some of them are not bear spray. I mean, those things, you know, that's a monster canister. You damn sure don't want that thing going off. But yeah, anything above 10,000 feet, you know, it can become a problem, because when you lose consciousness above 10,000 feet, those cans can crumple. So, you know, but they make them, they'll get even those little palms or some of those, they're so thick that you're not going to have to worry about that. So, but yeah, I mean, don't just go buy the one on Amazon. Definitely check what you're doing. But, I mean, I know, well, I used to be a volunteer fireman and a lifeguard and all that. So I know basic, medical, but putting in freaking shit, yeah, that's not me. And to be honest with you, here's what I have a problem with. If I were to do that to someone and do it incorrectly, you know what's coming next.
I mean, depending on the fire department and all that sort of stuff, I don't think everybody's certified to do that. There's usually one guy who's
I'm talking about as a civilian.
Yeah. If
you're out and something's happening on the side of the road, are you going to turn into Dr. MD and start, I'm not doing that for liability reasons. Now, I have done CPR on a person. They were having a heart attack, and I did that and kept him alive till the ambulance got there. He did pass away once he got to the hospital because he was elderly. But, I have no problem doing something like that. And I did it the old school way because this was 100 years ago when I did that. He had a heart attack while he was driving, but we were at a stoplight. So we didn't have the little bag you put over there, and do them that way. So I had to do it the old school way. But, I'm not opposed to helping somebody like that. But yeah, putting in needles and I hate to say it, but I'm not going to be that guy. And even if I was trained and knew how to do it on a family member, I would do it, but not on a civilian that I didn't know.
Having
liability.
Having a lot of friends in first responder situations or jobs, you also don't know what people are on these days.
Correct.
I've heard plenty of stories of they Narcan somebody and then the meth kicks in.
Yeah. So that, or, even like I did with that gentleman, CPR. I mean, people could have STD. You're transferring stuff. So now even with mouth to mouth, I'd be like, because you just don't know. I don't want to change fluids with anybody and all of a sudden come up with some kind of freaking crazy disease that, I'm stuck with for the rest of my life. And I'm all for helping people.
Hey, on that movie he did, $1 Million Buyers Club or whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to turn into 90 pounds of nothing, Hello, Norwood. How are you doing? There's certain things, like I said, and here's another thing. I'll bring this up and I'll be, I'm always 100% transparent. There are times where I go to certain areas that I pretty much know, and I will always carry a backup mag. And it's usually a high capacity, no matter what. But there are some times, I'll usually have a backup mag in the vehicle, but on my person, sometimes I don't.
I carried a revolver with 5 or 6 rounds, depending on the revolver, with no backup forever.
Yeah.
And revolvers are slow as hell to reload.
Yep.
But if I'm carrying a Glock 48 and I can't get it done with 15 rounds,
yeah.
And I know people say, I carry in case that magazine fails. If you've got time to reload in a situation, even though a reload is 1 second for me with that gun,
yeah,
I can probably get out of that situation without having to shoot more. And 15 rounds. I mean, we were talking Jack Bauer, massive terrorist attack, like multiple guys running around with, like I'm having to knock out 75-yard headshots in the mall on guys wearing armor, like just crazy scenario stuff that's really low probability.
Well, there's been areas, and those people that live in Texas would know I'm not going to call out any cities. But there are areas where I'm like, oh yeah, I've got 18 in the mag ready in the gun, and I've got an 18 or a 23 round backup, because sometimes wolves don't travel solo. So, and even in a car, you could have 5 or 6 people in that car. So you might not be dealing with one person or 2 people or 3 people. And that's another reason that I'm a proponent of lights, because there'll be times I'm traveling and it's an all-day travel trip. And you know this because you've been talking to me when I'm traveling. There's times where I will fill up a truck 2 times in one day.
Yep.
So that's a lot of miles. And these are some decent sized tanks. So it might be filling up at a gas station at night. So, or super early in the morning.
In an unknown area, and you look at an exit, you pull off that exit, everything looks good. You get there, you realize you are in the hood.
Yeah, exactly. And there's plenty of them. There's a lot of other states too that aren't super friendly. So, yeah, I mean, in some areas, but I would rather be prepared and not need it than not be prepared. That's why I'm a big proponent of a pistol light and a weapon light in your pocket.
Yeah.
I don't have to carry two knives. I don't, I've had people go, oh, I carry one in the right pocket and one in the left pocket. I'm like, what are you?
I will say from the blade perspective, if you're going to carry a fixed blade, it makes sense to carry a folder for utility and keep that fixed blade for defensive use only.
Yeah, no, the guy that I personally know, he carries two folding knives. And I'm like, whatever. And I understand of a fixed blade because I've got them too, where if you can't, if you're up close, super up close, and you can't draw, you can pop that pick out and go to work if you had to get them off of you. But, I get that.
Your carotid arteries just thinking about it.
Oh, yeah. I'm holding. Yeah. Yeah. That would be bad. Whew. That'd be nasty. So, I mean, I get that point of it, but two folders, I mean, he's a friend of mine, and I'm just like, why? He's like, I got one for the left pocket, one for the right pocket, in case I can't get to the right pocket. And I'm like, what the shit?
One of my good buddies did that same thing, and I think he had two other fixed blades on him somewhere as well. He only went for that phase for about a year.
Yeah. What's up, Turkey? How are you doing, man? Yeah, I mean, like I said, people can do what they want. I will never tell anybody, don't do that, you're stupid. But then when I hear people in videos saying, if you don't carry all this shit on the table, you're ridiculous, that pisses me off too. Because I want more and more and more people on our side and not pushing them away with, if you don't carry this or else, or if you don't have this particular gun, you're wrong.
And you can't go from zero to hero. No. If you're going to lose weight, you don't start going to the gym 4 hours a day, or else you're going to end up in the hospital because your body can't go from zero to that.
Yep.
Learn in stages, progressively build up. And if you find that, I know a lot of guys that did carry a lot more stuff, and now they've gone back to more minimalist.
I did. I was that guy. I was carrying so much shit. I was just like, man, not loading every pocket, as Armsman says, not loading every pocket of the cargo shorts. I've seen those guys too. So I'm not that guy, but I was carrying, man, I had so much crap on me, and I was just like, this is not, for one, it's not fun putting all that crap on. I felt like Batman. I needed the Batman utility belt, which I thought was ridiculous for carrying that much crap. But that's why I started simplifying it, saying, okay, this can be in the truck. This can be on my person, blah, 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 because I wanted more minimalistic. I didn't want to stand out like a sore thumb with, crap in your pockets, look like you're carrying 3 guns. And this about me, when I used to have my boots made, I used to have the pocket made in my boots for my Bodyguard 380, just as a backup gun. Well, and Armsman and I were joking about this today, with my mindset back then, I'm like, okay, I've got a gun on my person, up here, and I've got one in my boot. Well, think about it this way. I'm a tall guy, ripping those boot, pulling my boot leg up and reaching in there and grabbing that. How practical is that? I mean, seriously, the more and more I thought, I still have some of those boots with the pocket still in there, but I don't put anything in it anymore. But I'm just like, there's got to be a point where you're just like, cut this bull crap out. Let's be more realistic.
So I made a custom rig for my Glock 42 to carry in my boot. And I would wear it in situations where I need to wear a tucked in shirt.
Yep.
And it works well for that. But I joke it's my active shooter gun because that's the only situation where I'd have time to get it out. It's not going to be, it's not for 99% of scenarios.
Yeah. And I knew a guy. Now he was he was in the military way back when. Then he was an ex-police officer, or he was a police officer and retired. So he carried a gun at the appendix. And listen to this. He carried a gun at the appendix and carried one at like almost 6 o'clock at his freaking back.
Yeah.
Vertebrae. And I said, for one, I won't say his name, but in case he's watching, but I was like, how the hell, for one, are you going to get to that? Because, man, he had arthritis, he was older and he still carried it back there. And I'm like, for one, how do you get it back there when you're putting it in your pants? And here's what he told me. I load it in my pants with his belt on his pants and then pulls his pants up and buckles them. And I said, okay, how are you going to get that gun out? And he's like, well, I can kind of reach it. And I said, you can't draw that gun back there. And another one, if somebody pushes you down physically on the ground, what's the first thing that's going to break? Your gun, your back, your vertebrae is going to break on that freaking gun.
I lose a lot of sales to telling people that.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's not right. And he's like, well, I did it forever back in, because he was wearing like a dress jacket. So he'd keep it. And he probably honestly kept it more at the 430 back then. But I'm just like, man, let's get to reality. Okay. That's not, and I know you and Armsman and all of us, everybody on this chat can think about every scenario or mission impossible thing in the world. But, we got to get down to reality. We're not fighting the Taliban in the middle of the streets. We're not, because trust me, I would not have a pistol. I'd have a pistol as a backup, but I'd have a rifle.
If we knew we were going into a gunfight, I had no choice to avoid it. If we know they're not wearing armor, you and I are probably both grabbing shotguns if it's within 20 yards.
Oh, and slugs. Yeah, we're going to rip people in half. I'm not here to wound them. I'm here to take chunks off of them, like Clint Smith says, remove body parts.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just, some of these videos and some of these things I see, I'm just like, really? Or these EDC pictures, just, I don't have Instagram anymore, but, I still see them on YouTube shorts and stuff like that. And I'm just like, really? You're carrying all that shit on a table. I'm like, where? I don't know. I don't understand it. And like I said, I know a lot of it is for props and, for clout and all this other stuff. But I had people reach out to me and go, man, do you really need to carry all this stuff? And I'm like, no. I mean, carry what you're comfortable with, because all of us are average Joes. We're defending our wives and our daughters and our family and ourselves, against not a military. It's usually hood rats or, those type of people. And that's the bad thing. You can carry all that shit on your person and you can get whacked by some 13-year-old kid with a freaking high point. I mean, it's like you can only do so much. And I remember Jaeger back in the day, he would give all these scenarios. You got to have 19 guns on you and 18 mags. And, that's all cool for the tactical people, but that's not realistic for normal everyday Joes like us.
That's more guns I have to defend if I get in a physical altercation.
Yeah.
It's more liability. Yeah. Less is more if it's used appropriately. And, you talking about like the CR920 XP, there's a lot of good small guns out there for people that can't carry larger guns. Yep. A lot of people, I can't conceal my Glock 19, so I use that as an excuse not to carry. You know what? Get a Glock 48, get a Glock 43X, put a Radiant on it.
Yep.
That will be more concealable, easier to carry, and it shoots almost as well.
Yeah.
As larger guns. Like comps have changed the game, whatever you're running with a comp.
That's what and I have so many people. It blows me away. I have so many people, honestly, that have gotten on my ass about why do you have so many comp guns? That's ridiculous. It's a freaking 9mm. And I'm like, do you shoot? Do you shoot fast? I mean, if you put it on a shot timer, or if you really check yourself and check your groups realistically, compared to speed, you are faster with a comp. And I'm not saying it's everybody in the world. And I know this too. I've known this from testing. Some comps they suck. They do not do what they claim to do. But some really do a great job, and I will give Radiant a shout out. I mean, those guys have made some great. Their shit is great. I've shot Gen 3 Radians, I've shot Gen 4 Radians, and I've shot Gen 5 Radians, and they are all legit. I even shot it wasn't mine, but I shot a SIG Radian It was Brian's, and I was actually very impressed with it. I was like, this is pretty legit. It wasn't my gun. I didn't have a whole bunch of time behind it, but I could tell with it because he put the regular barrel in it and said, hey, try it, and then switched over. You know, it's easy to do it. And I was like, yep, I can feel the difference off the bat. So if I can feel it, what does that do? It gives you better confidence. It makes you feel more comfortable with that. And if you can shave off, I'm talking a tenth. If you can shave off anything because it's working, how's that not beneficial? Now, granted, sometimes cost will come into play for a lot of people, and I totally understand that.
So here's something that I've thought. Maybe it's due to the people I've trained with. Most of them have the mindset, and I've trained with a wide spectrum of trainers. Some of these guys, they'll shit talk each other. Like I've trained with Jaeger's probably the only one I don't have. Jaeger and Voda. They're probably the only one in the whole realm of things. And I haven't trained with many of the competition guys. One thing you got to take into account is you are accountable for every shot that comes out of that gun. If you're a defensive scenario, you probably need to be shooting 0.4 splits, not 0.14 splits. Yeah. So you can recognize everything that's happening. And with a revolver, for me, that's right on pace with what I can shoot good groups. With a semi-auto, I can shoot way faster than I can process and still get paper. But that might be a miss if I get the guy in the spine and he drops. Jared Reston, everybody familiar with him as training, you can look up one of the shootings he was involved with. I think he hit the guy like once and sent 4 rounds over him. Probably misquoting the ratios a little bit, but sent rounds over the guy because he dropped faster than he could process that he dropped and could stop pulling the trigger.
Yeah. I mean, I've checked, I've got the pack timer, and I've checked mine before if I'm just wailing and just really hammering down. I've pulled off, this was honestly, I'm just being very honest because I don't fib. They were not, all I was doing was smashing the trigger. I was just hammering it. Now, were they all accurate? No. They all hit paper, the silhouette, but were they in the chest? No, they were kind of in the arms and this gut and all that. I mean, I was hammering it, and I was pulling off 12s and 13s and 14s, but can I do that consistently? Hell no. I just can't. I mean, that was just freaking showering down. Is that a normal pace for me? No, it's not by any means. I'm not that good and that accurate. So if I'm pulling off truly accurate shots, I'm not a 12 by any means. But I was just seeing, where the wheels completely came off, like I'm outside of the, zone. And and I did that with no comp. And then I did that with the comp, and the comp helped. I mean, I could tell the difference. And this about me, Harry. You've known me for a long ass time. Am I a Glock guy? Am I a Glock tard?
So what Big J's not telling you, he actually carries a Taurus G2C.
Yeah.
That's preferred.
Two of them. One at the 6 o'clock.
One in each boot.
Yeah, exactly. But that I'm not the Glock guy. But I'm telling you what, I love my 19X, and I always have. But when I put the Radiant on it, totally changed the game for me on that gun. I mean, it's a joy to shoot. It's super fast. I'm super accurate with it. I'm even more accurate with it when I was, because I like to shoot fast and I like to shoot slow, and it helped. Now, can I do my P10C and probably without the comp and probably pull close to the same groups? Yeah, but they are tighter with, the Radiant. Then that's like that little, see that Shadow System CR920 XP. Even with that little comp compared to other smaller guns I've shot, I shoot it better, because it's got the comp. I mean, I am a comp guy. I'm a comp guy and a dot guy. And this is another thing I wanted to ask you while you're on here, because I have a lot of people ask me, and I wanted to get your opinion so other people could hear your opinion. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but on a semi-automatic pistol, do you prefer dots or irons? And if so, which one are you faster with?
Personally, dots. I am definitely faster. If I'm going for like a little more accuracy, which I really don't need to do at 3 yards.
Yeah.
I'd technically be faster with iron because the sight picture is just a little more gross, but I can still use the outline of the gun
Right.
and get more than sufficient enough accuracy. I prefer a dot, but if somebody is more novice, they're not good at maintenance, they're not good at changing their batteries. I was 2 years ago, a buddy and mine invited me up to his dad's hunting lease. We went and hung out the cabin, just chilled out. We shot some guns, and his dad showed me a CP365 with Romeo Zero. He thought the dot was like killed because he hadn't changed the battery.
Yeah.
And that guy, love him to death. He's a great guy. He does probably not need to be carrying with a dot. He needs to be running iron sights.
Yeah.
Just got to decide how much work
if you were, okay. So if you were talking to, say, a novice or a new shooter, say they really don't have, a lot of experience, would you start them out on a dot, or would you start them out on irons?
Depends on the shooter. If this shooter's telling me they really want to get into shooting, they want to go to the range multiple times a month, hey, they're gonna dry fire at home, they're really gonna get into it, dot. But if they're like, hey, I want to own a gun for self-protection, I plan on shooting a couple times this month, and then I'm gonna shoot once every 6 months or once a year when I get together with my buddies out at some land or something, that person needs to go irons.
Okay. And then see, that's where I'll disagree with you. Okay. Because the guy's only going to shoot once a month. Okay. Do you want to make it as easy as possible for that person to get hits immediately? Because some people, even novice, don't understand this from the get-go. They think they do, but when it comes to truly lining everything up, and especially in the dark, like if it's dark in their home and they're like, hey, it's for home protection, that's why I would throw the dot out immediately.
So I bought my dad for his birthday 629 Mountain gun, the Ellipses release.
Yep.
And I took that out with him, and we shot the other week. And we also shot his LCR 327 I got him. He had a chance to shoot the Staccato HD. His hits on target look no better with that Staccato HD with the Trijicon RMR HD on it.
Yeah.
And his hits did with the 32 Ruger.
Yeah.
The 27 Ruger. And that was with 32 Smith & Wesson longs. Again, like the lower tier shooters. So like, I agree with using a red dot to try to get them into it, get them excited.
Yeah.
But some people that are just never going to be gun guys like us, but I still want them. My dad was still able to get good hits within 7 yards, A-zone hits with the 327, but he's not going to be stacking them smaller than that A-zone. It's just, he doesn't care enough to put in the effort.
Yeah.
Now, with 20 gauge shotgun, single shot shotgun, any squirrel is dead.
Yeah.
Outside of that, literally, if I had to go to war with him, I'd hand him his single shot 20 gauge Winchester he's had since he was 11 years old over an AR-15 with a D60 because he wouldn't know how to get the safety off, no matter how many times I show him.
Yeah. Turkey's making fun of him, and he says 12s is Jerry Michalik times. Nice, Big J. But Trigger Bar, Turkey doesn't understand. This was with a 2-pound 2011 trigger as well. So, I mean, I was literally flailing. I mean, I was just, as fast as I could pull the trigger. They were not, hey, I see the dot every single time. It was just seeing how fast I could yank it. And then looking at the times going, oh, great, I hit a 12, I hit a 13. Yeah, that's not, like I said, that is not consistent. I'm not a Jerry Michalik by any means. Love to have him as my grandpa, though. That'd be badass.
So, but he's not much older than you, Mike.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I'd probably love to have him as my dad, maybe. I don't know how old Lena is. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think.
Lena's
probably about your daughter's age.
She might be, yeah. Okay, well, I'd love to have him as a friend. Let's just put it that way.
Your brother. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, my twin brother. But, especially with the freaking revolver. Holy crap, that guy can freaking shower a damn revolver. But, like I said, I'm not hammering on anybody, but, what I meant by do you really EDC is, when people say, oh, I carry this and I carry that and I've got 5,000 rounds on this and 3,000 or 10,000 rounds on this, what I'm basically trying to tell the audience, and I'm probably speaking to the choir because I think they kind of know to pull, or if any newbie watches this after the fact, I'm just trying to say with YouTube, take everything with a grain of salt. Okay. I'm not saying people are lying, but I'm just, if that doesn't work for you, that whole table full of shit, then, be realistic and keep it to what works for you. You don't have to be like Joe Blow or Timmy Tactical or ex-Navy SEAL guy. You're just a person carrying a gun to protect your wife and your family and friends and yourself and all of that. You don't have to stay with that crowd.
Really important. Know your limitations with that gun.
Yeah.
If your limitation of taking on a threat is 7 yards, that's your limitation.
Yep.
Get a gun you can carry and get a gun that you can shoot a decent standard.
Yeah.
And, a J frame that you can barely make A zone hits with at 7 yards is going to be more help against a threat at 3 or 4 yards than the Glock 17, Staccato XC, whatever you have in your truck.
Yeah.
And
I've always wanted to, I don't ask a lot of people this, but I want to get your opinion. Okay. And I know people have I'm going to hear it. Probably people are going to start firing up, and if they do, please do. Because like I said, this is my opinion. Okay. On a gun, a carry gun that you are going to carry every day, do you prefer a lighter trigger that's say, 3 to 4 pounds or 2 to 3 pounds, or do you prefer a 5 to 6 pound trigger?
If I was going to carry one gun and one gun exclusively and maybe shoot 1 or 2 guns and I was kept with the 1911, 2011 style platform, I probably would go for a lighter trigger. But I shoot a lot of striker fire triggers. I shoot a lot of variety, and I shoot a lot of revolvers. So I'd rather have something closer to a 5 pound trigger.
Okay. And that's fair. I've always carried, 1911s, grew up with them, carried them forever. I do prefer a lighter trigger, in my preference. A lot of people think this is crazy, but my preference, because I don't put the booger hook on it unless it's going to go bang. That's what I do. But I prefer it to be 2.5 to 3 pounds. But can I shoot a 5 to 6 pound trigger? Yes. Do I prefer them? No. Am I as accurate with them? No. But can I make them work? Yes. Now, when you get into, and I've got them, these freaking revolver triggers that are, I grew up in the old days, but, a lot of our semi-automatics were freaking 8 to 10 pounds. I mean, they were freaking heavy as shit. So can I shoot them? Yeah, but I don't like them. They're not my preference at all. And Rabbi's saying he's got the astigmatism. Red dots don't work for him. I mean, I've got dual astigmatisms. And it's a little blistery. I know you've got astigmatism too.
Yeah.
But they're a little blistery, but that's why I prefer the smaller dots. I know Humble will yell at me and go, "You need a 19 MOA dot." Yeah, that's not for me.
I will say the dots seem to be getting better astigmatism wise.
Yeah.
If I look at some of my newer production dots versus ones I've had forever,
yep,
I do tend to be going bigger. But with the older dots, nah, man, you got to go. 3.25 is kind of the biggest on the old ones.
And see, I still like the smaller dots because here's what I find, especially with like the EPS carries and the smaller dots. If it's a 5 MOA, even, and I'm sure it has to do with my astigmatism as well, it just fills up too much of the window. And I like to have more of a peripheral view. And I know the peripheral is outside of the dot, but I like to have more of a window with more of a dot, because think about it. And you can do this. I can do this. I've proven it on videos. I can turn the dot completely off. I can put it in night vision so I can't even see it. But I know in my mind that dot is zeroed. Okay. So if I just throw it out there and I point it and I know where the dot should be and I frame it within the outside of that dot frame, I can hit where I'm aiming. Okay. Yep. And a lot of people can. So that's what I'm saying. That doesn't scare me. But when I have a big freaking huge dot in a small window, that's a total turnoff for me. And I've got the 50C comp or the 507 comp, which is a big ass window. When I have a small dot on that, man, it's like looking through a freaking TV. I mean, it's just huge. And I still like the smaller dot. For me personally, I know a lot of people like bigger dots, but I can always take a small dot, especially nowadays, or, with our older ones, I can take a small dot and I can turn up the intensity and bloom it to make it a bigger dot if I want it, but I can't take a big dot and turn it down. I just, I can't do that.
So one of my buddies, he probably still has it, a G40 with one of the old RMRs with the tritium and fiber optic.
Oh, good Lord.
And it was green with my stigmatism. That thing filled up the entire wind. And I was still making hits at 25 yards on 8-inch steel.
Yep.
But shooting his gun, I was all over the place on that steel. Whereas my 19X or whatever I was 3.25 RMR at the time. I was in the center.
Yeah.
You can still make hits. For competition's a different game than carry, though.
It is. Yeah. And Threat Cadre, he loves Delta Point Pros because he's from the middle. They've had that forever with the special and all that stuff he did. But he's got the freaking triangle on the Delta Point Pro. You've seen those. And I threw one up, and I'm like, one of his guns, and I'm like, what the shit? And yes, I've shot those before, but I haven't seen them in 100 years. And he has one.
Is he wearing corrective lenses, or does he not have astigmatism?
No, he's got pretty good vision. I mean, he's a hell of a shot. But I'm just like, what the shit? Because I think that thing's like a 9 MOA, or the triangle's huge.
Yeah, I don't see a triangle. I see like a 12. I see like a 12 trapezoids on top.
Yeah, it is weird. I saw a triangle, but it was a big ass triangle. And he gets good hits with it. But I shot it, and I got decent hits. But I'm like, man, I can't deal with that. So, damn, Balding Curious is in the house. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I enjoy, shooting, and that's one thing with the, situation I've been in. And I did want to announce this because people have asked. I did my first drive by myself in my truck, my personal truck. I went to PT one morning and I drove. It's only like 3 miles away. So going from the gas pedal over to the brake pedal, thank God I have adjustable pedals where I can push a button and my pedals will go down and my seat will go back and tilt. So I could get the leg up higher. But, it worked out well. I still don't have the quickest reaction like I used to, but it's getting there. So, I'm going to do the short trips around, my town and then build up to hitting the road again. But I'm still on a cane or I'm on a cane now. So, but getting better. So
your Cybertruck still's not here?
I ain't getting no damn Cybertruck. No, I'm not getting a Cybertruck. No, I'm getting my 6x6. That's what I would have, is a big 6x6. But
you're gonna modify the Cybertruck into a 6x6.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'd have the T-Rex or the TRX 6x6, the Mammoth with the 1100 horsepower, the Hennessy. That'd be badass. But,
yeah. I think you ought to do an engine swap on a Cybertruck. Swap.
Some people. I think I sent that to you, where the guy took a Plaid and he had an 1800 horsepower gas engine in it, freaking drag car. That was pretty badass. I'm like, yeah, that'd be a runner right there. But no, electric cars are super fast, like the Plaids and stuff like that. I mean, I can appreciate them for what they are, but practical for me, it's that wouldn't work for what I do and what I like.
Nap twice a day at the charging station. You have to take a 45-minute nap twice a day at the charging station. Yeah, no, I want to fill that sucker up and go. I don't want to sit there and like you said, take a nap or wait on that shit. That's not what I'm about. So, and I know they're affected by cold and by heat and all that other stuff. I mean, they're batteries. So I just don't want to deal with any of that. But yeah, I know the TRX 6x6 is badass. The AMG 6x6 is badass. But yeah, they're not practical, but they're badass. Matter of fact, I've seen a couple of them. I took a bunch of pictures and sent them to you. I've got some shops that have tricked them out and done some stuff to them. But yeah, they're just not practical. But when you do have that much horsepower, spinning all 6 tires is pretty impressive. I can believe it. I mean,
definitely a smoke show.
I don't know if I've got anywhere around me that you could actually do anything with it. It'd just be a showpiece.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can get on a road and let it loose, I mean, you know, like I said, they are cool, but practicality, not really, you know. So, but anything that you have coming up that you want to announce, because people have probably been asking.
Not really yet. I mean, most of the stuff's going to launch the end of the year, early next, depending on, you know, we're waiting on a lot of stuff, a lot of tooling to come in, a lot of hardware, a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, see, Bald is saying, and I know you've ran into this too. He's saying, good luck parking a 6x6 in front of your supermarket. You know, that's what I'm saying. In Texas, we park way the hell out away from everything. You know, we take up 2 spots if we have to.
Yeah, so, you can't do that in a lot of places.
I know in his area too. Yeah.
In Austin, which I know you complain about the parking there. I thought when I was in Austin, I thought they had a fair amount of good parking for trucks in the city compared to other areas I've been.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, you know, I mean, some of the urban areas, if you're downtown urban, they have shitty parking. But, you know, if you're in some of the outer areas, you know, it's pretty standard, or you just park farther out, like at Walmart or a grocery store or something like that. If you're parking at the front door, yeah, you're not going to be able to park a 6x6 or even a dually, you know, or hell, even some 4-wheel drive trucks. You know, you'll have problems parking those.
They probably got Prius parking only.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, Bald and his Prius, he could park wherever he wants with that thing. And they do have their benefits of the smaller cars, but you know, they're just not comfortable for me.
My buddy bought one for like $2,300, and he drove it for 2 or 3 years, and you know, he saved gas.
Oh,
what cost him, and then he turned around and sold it.
Yeah,
I think he made a little money on it.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, there's nothing. You know, there's no hate on them. I mean, you know, they definitely serve a purpose, and the gas mileage or fuel mileage, you know, is definitely good on them. So. I have a buddy who just bought and he's a big guy, but you know, I sat in it and told him, you know, because we're about the same height, and same size, but he was like, man, you think I could get a Maverick? You know, he really wanted a Maverick, you know, for fuel mileage. He got the hybrid model. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, surprising, you know, granted, when I sit in the driver's seat, I'm literally pushed to the back seat, but he wanted the 4-door. And,
what
do you think? He likes it.
What do you think about the Ranger Super Duty?
I think it's awesome. You know, when I sent that to you, I'm like, that's pretty freaking cool. You know, it's in Australia only right now, but man, I'm like, man, if they brought the Super Duty Ranger, that's pretty cool. I mean, I personally wouldn't buy it, but I think it's pretty damn cool.
That might, if you put the right, put like one of those full cab type things on the back, that'd be a fun little shop truck.
Yeah, well, and I mean, if you put the right brush guard on it and bumpers and, you know, wheels and tires, I mean, you know, and hell, I think it didn't say that it would pull like 10,000 pounds, something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive tone.
Yeah, I mean, that's very. I got to move my knee. Woo, foot's falling asleep. But yeah, I mean, I think it'll sell. It would sell like crazy over here. You know, the people who want like a smaller parking spot or can fit it in their garage, I think it would sell. And that's what's crazy. If you look at the truck numbers prior to the tariffs and everything, the trucks that we're selling are the Rangers, the Colorados and Canyons. I mean, those 3 right there are some of the most popular trucks right now. Of course, the Maverick, but they're unibody. I'm talking about truck frames. It was the actual Ranger, Colorados, and Canyons are actually up in sales compared to the full-size trucks.
Man, I still miss the old Rangers. A bunch of my buddies had those in high school. I mean, they were discontinued for a long time then, but that just an iconic truck.
Yeah, but they'll last, and that's what I'm saying. They will last forever, and people abuse the piss out of them. And those suckers still ran. You know, I send you those jokes, you know, where it's like it's a damn Ford Ranger, you know, those little, where they're pulling freaking 5th wheels and all kinds of crazy shit with Rangers. I mean, those trucks, man, they were, the Chevy Love and the Ranger were 2 iconic trucks. I mean, people abuse the shit out of those, and you could buy those trucks brand new back in the day for like $6,000, $10,000, and yeah, they would last for 300,000 miles.
There's nothing like that today.
Yeah, no. I mean, I joke around with it, and I'm in the automotive field, but a lot of the vehicles, they'll last for 100 to 150,000 miles, depending how you take care of them, and then after that, it can be, crapshoots on a lot of the trucks now. Some of the cars are worse. They won't even make it till 75,000 miles on some of the lower line vehicles, but in the car world. But, I'm talking about domestics, not imports, because people will be like, Toyota, Honda Civic. Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about those. But let's just give a scenario. If you were going to buy a truck, an actual pickup truck right now, what would it be?
Man, I'm a Ford guy. I'd probably get a Super Duty.
Yeah. If I were going to buy one right now, it would be the Hemi, not the new one, not the RDO, but it would be a TRX. So we're going to buy one.
I like the TRX. I like the Raptors. They seem like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But part of me just says, hey, get a Porsche 911, get an Audi A7, was the RS7, or get something just fast and low. And you're not. I need something that can pull. And I know you can bag those, but I'm going diesel.
See, I want something fast and big. I don't want anything fast and low. I want something fast and big, if I need to get off the road fast. But of course, everybody, what if the EMP happens? If you don't have a freaking International or an old Chevy Blazer or something like that, yeah, you're screwed either way with EMPs. It's got to be an old vehicle to be good there.
Man, I'd love an old F-250.
I've been wanting an International Scout or a K5 Blazer forever.
My buddy got his he bought a boat, so he had to get a vehicle that could pull it. And his uncle sold him his old F-250 that was one of the farm trucks. Only had I think it was a little over 100,000 miles on it. It was the old 7.3, not the newer one.
Yeah.
So square body. That it's a little bit of rough shape, but it's not too bad because I don't think it was one they'd let all the help drive and everything. And I've been trying to get my buddy to completely restore it, redo the interior, paint it, because that's just sexy.
Yeah.
I love those old square body styles.
Well, I'm telling you, if you're wanting a diesel, the old 12-valve Dodge, Cummins, oh shit, they are going for crazy money to this day because the rebuilds on them are easy, and those things will get 500,000 miles out of them. But people want 300 grand. I mean, they want stupid money for these things. No, I'm just joking, not 300 grand. But, even with the over, 200,000, 300,000 miles on them, people are still getting, 50 grand for these freaking trucks because they're in such demand for the 12 valves. Because they will literally pull a freaking house down. And
here's another thing. I'm a diesel guy. I love diesel, but with DEF, I almost wonder if you're not going to get the same life out of every time I go into the dealership, into the Ford dealership, they're dealing with trucks with 200,000 miles. They're having to completely rebuild them.
It's DEF, dude. I'm telling you. And I will say the same thing on gas engine cars with ethanol. Ethanol is shit. It is complete shit. It is horrible for the inside of your engine. It gums everything up over time. I pulled fuel lines apart when ethanol first came out, and it just gums up. It just turns into goo. It's a freaking scam. And that's the same thing with DEF. That's what I'm saying. You deal with the old 12 valves, you don't have to deal with that. There's no DEF. And you can do so much to them, but EPA wouldn't like you, but yes, you can. But if you're dealing with diesel stuff, but any of the new vehicles, you're really hindered. You can have a lot of horsepower and a lot of torque, but depending on how they're fueled, even if I were going to build a race car today, I would still go old school. I would have a fuel injected engine, don't get me wrong, but it would not be ethanol based for horsepower.
So I was talking about this with Michael. Links to the owner of Links Defense. I don't know if anybody's making like a true bulletproof, reliable, brand new pickup these days.
No, they're not.
Everybody's pushing horsepower. Dodge, Ford, Chevy, Toyota. Every one of those is a gamble.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you're going to get, depending on how you take care of it and how you drive it. If you drive it like you stole it, you're not going to get, the life you normally would out. But, I mean, I'm all for buying, an older vehicle and a crate motor or something like that. As long as it's fuel injected now, you don't want carburetor anymore. And supercharged. I'm a big proponent of supercharger over turbo. I know a lot of people like turbo, but with the turbo lag, you don't get that with supercharger. They're both great. Turbochargers are super fast, don't get me wrong, but I'm more of a supercharged guy. But to each their own. But building them, I mean, with wastegates and dual turbos and all that shit, it's more of a cluster than it is with a supercharger.
Now, you're in a position now, though, with new vehicles. I feel like you either buy something new or slightly used, drive it 50,000 miles until the warranty's up or before the warranty's up, trade it in and get something new. Or you've almost got to buy something that's 20 years old, and then you're dealing with gaskets, hoses, knowing you got to basically rebuild the whole thing.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be in and out of the shop because of dry rot.
I'll tell you the vehicle that is the most slept on right now. And if you play because there's last year's models that you can still buy, the most slept on vehicle right now, and people are going to laugh at me and go, what? Believe it or not, is the Cadillac V-Series Blackwing. I am telling you, those cars are stupid fast. I mean, they got Brembo brake setups, 640 horsepower. They got a manual option or an automatic option. And man, you can get those, like the window sticker will be 130 grand. You can literally get those brand new right now for like 70. And I mean, you're getting a $70,000 car with full warranty, fast as shit, every performance thing on it, and 640 horsepower. I mean, those cars will flat fly, and it'll blow a BMW away. I mean, it'll even smoke a Corvette. Those cars, and they've got adaptive. I mean, they're ride control. And if you've been in one of the newer Cadillacs, man, those things are like a freaking spaceship. I mean, they are so slept on. And also you can get them in crazy colors. Like you can get them baby blue and white interior with a white car. I mean, they've got all these tricked out colors and limited editions. I mean, they're pretty badass. And I'm not a Cadillac guy, other than back in the old days, but those cars are like freaking race cars now. They're not like your grandpa's Cadillac.
Yeah.
So they're pretty badass. Krennic says turbo's more better. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's nothing wrong with either of them. I just don't like, and turbo lag is not what it used to be. But I'm a big, wastegates. I'm a big proponent of superchargers. And I've ran turbos in the past too. But
the big problem is too, I mean, these older vehicles, great to have something that runs and is reliable, but you lose all the creature comforts.
Yeah.
Well,
and if I could find one, and I'm telling you, I would buy it if I found it and it was in great condition. The Toyota Hilux, 4-door and a diesel, man, I'd buy one in a freaking heartbeat.
Yeah, but you're not going to drive it.
Yeah.
On your, your halls.
No, I meant to have as a secondary, like a play vehicle. They're indestructible if you can find one. But if you do find one, they want a fortune for them. But man, those things are literally bulletproof. I mean, they will run forever. And the old 22R engines with Toyota were awesome too. But that freaking Toyota Hilux, man, that shit, they built that thing bulletproof.
I wish they would undo all the safety bull crap and we could get the Series 70 here in the US, the new production ones.
Yeah. I mean, they've been talking about it for years and years and years. And I've known guys that have gone to Mexico and got the Hilux and, bought them and then shipped them over. But you're dealing with emissions and all that other bullshit too.
That'll title and tag it. And
yeah. But I know guys in El Paso that have them right now. And I mean, they're freaking awesome. They got the snorkels on them. I mean, they're set up the right way, and man, believe it or not, they ride really good. I mean, and the axles, you cannot tear up those axles, man. They're like dually axles in a freaking truck or a little truck. They built those things to last.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've blown so many wastegates out. I used to pull wastegates apart, but you can't really do that on the newer ones because all your damn check engine lights will pop on. But back in the day, you could pull the wastegates apart and cheat turbos, but you can't do that now. You'll chew your turbos up. But yeah, we're definitely over time. But anything, and here's one more quick question: if you could only have one gun to carry, yeah, I know I'm gonna put it on you. One gun to carry that's kind of like your do-it-all last gun on the world, and that's going to be a hard one for me too. But what do you think it would be for you?
Can I bulk buy ammo?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say anything about ammo. Yeah.
You're gonna laugh. Man, this is hard. All right,
I get asked this question all the time, so that's why I'm asking you.
I'm between two options.
Okay, well, give me both of them.
Smith & Wesson 351C 22 Magnum revolver.
Okay.
Because that thing is 11 ounces. You can wear it running. You can throw it in a plastic bag and put in your swimsuit and go to the beach with it. Yeah. It's so light, it's not going to have any issue. The second one is probably going to be a Smith & Wesson 340 because if I absolutely had to, I could shoot 357 Magnum through it. Yeah. If I'm in the mountains or something, I'm not saying it's the most effective thing.
Yeah.
But I can do more with a revolver than I can do with pretty much any semi-auto. Like it's a wider range of what I can handle in terms of situations.
Okay. I could see that. Mine definitely wouldn't be a revolver. I own them, but that would not be where I would go. I would go the Glock 19X, and then I would go the Staccato C2. For those two setups, just so if I were going to pick two, but because I can put the bigger 2011 mags in the C2, but it is easier to carry than my P with the comp and all that, or my MPA freaking 5-inch. And the MPA 4-inch is a super nice gun too, but I do really like the C2 with the comp on it. And of course the Glock 19 because part availability, mag availability, all of that stuff. If you're talking end of the world kind of thing. So if you were going to say rifle, so since we're going down this road, what would your end of world rifle be, or PDW or whatever you wanted to choose?
Probably a 11.5 5.56. Probably some sort of AR variant, Geisley, any quality 11.5 AR with a good stiff M-lock rail.
Yeah, this is where I might shock people, but I would go my 12.5 5.56.
Yeah,
and the only reason is ammo availability. Yes, I would rather have a 12.5 308. And, you can find a lot of 308 ammo, but as far as mag compatibility, everybody's going to have mag AR or AR mags, regular 15 mags. They would have all, I just got the alert foods ready. But yeah, it would be the 12.5, 5.56, and I would carry 77 grain, but you've got the variety of the ammo, that you could use there. So if you're going to go shotgun,
man, I really like my Benelli Black Eagle too.
Okay. I'm going 590A1 for pump because I've got high brass, low brass. I've got all kinds of ammo and it will shoot everything. So that's what I'm going to go. I'm not going with any of my semis because some of them can be more finicky with low brass. So, yeah. But in that 590, man, it's just a freaking awesome shotgun. I mean, it's bulletproof. You can throw that thing out of a freaking helicopter and it'd probably be okay. Where my other ones, not so much. And it holds good capacity. I think that one's the way mine's set up. It's 9+1, I think is what it is, or 8+1. I mean, decent capacity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think I think those are pretty good choices. Now, of course, since we have the choices that we have, I definitely like to rotate my EDC and carry different things. And, so that's always a good thing. But anything else? We're fixing to shut this thing down.
No, thanks for having me on.
No, I appreciate you coming on. It's always good to talk about this stuff because I think a lot of people get wrapped around the wheel. And I think if we can keep it simplistic, minimalistic, and again, what everybody carries is completely up to them. I'm not their daddy. I'm not anybody special. I'm just a guy. But I think that having, options is a really good thing. But I just don't want newer people to get wrapped around the wheel and think they have to carry everything in the kitchen sink to be proficient, to protect themselves and their families.
If you're not proficient with the gear, you shouldn't be carrying it.
Correct. Yeah. Then that's like a lot of my trauma kit. And I've got shit in there, and I'm just being honest. I've got these, what are they called? The tubes or the.
You're hoping a nurse.
Yeah, exactly. Or I bump into a doctor, and I'm like, hey, can you use this shit? Because that's not me. Like shears, could I cut somebody's shirt off and put a tourniquet on them? Yes, I can do that. But past that, I'm not that guy. So, and can I stick a chest seal on you? Yeah, I can do that, but I'm not going to operate on you, or be the MacGyver and take apart a ballpoint pen and give you a tracheotomy on the side of the road. That's not me. I don't want to be that guy. But yeah, it's always good to have you on and shoot the crap with you and see what's going on with you. And it's been a while since you've been on, so this has definitely been a really good time, and I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Hope everybody enjoyed it. And if anybody has any questions after the chat, they can leave them, in the questions. And Harry, he's more than welcome to jump in if y'all got questions for Harry. And also, please go check out Harry's Holsters. He's been a friend of mine forever. He makes a great quality product. Got some new stuff coming down the road. So I just had to throw that out there. But always a pleasure to have you on here, sir. And if you're a revolver guy, Harry's your guy. He's got great revolver holsters, and please, if you need any of that, go over and check him out. He's got some good stuff on that.
I've almost talked Big J into a wheel gun once or twice. I've gotten close.
Yeah, and I mean, I have some big ones, some bigger ones, but yeah, he was talking to me in getting some smaller ones. And I'm not saying I'm not opposed to them. The only thing I run into is the freaking grip size. That's the big boogaboo with me, even if it doesn't have any recoil and I can only get like one finger on it, it's not practical for me personally. Would I shoot someone else's and enjoy it? Yeah, probably so. But, am I going to spend $1,000 on it? Yeah. Probably not for me personally.
They're not cheap.
I would want to spend $1,000 on something that I know that I would enjoy and shoot a lot. But, we'll do this again. And maybe next time we can have you and some other people on and because it's always good to find out about your industry and also kind of what you're hearing from your customers about, what they're carrying and what they're liking and stuff like that. It's always good to get differing opinions. Because a lot of the questions I ask you is what I get asked, but they're only hearing it from me. So it's good to get a different point of view. All right, sir. But I appreciate you being on, and thank y'all everybody for jumping in. And if y'all have any questions afterwards, please leave them. Check out Harry's Holsters. And again, an unarmed nation's a very weak nation. So we all got to carry on, everyone. Y'all take care.